Hi there everybody, this is David, and I'm just gonna ask, are you into slow burn, choose your own adventure games like Disco Elysium, or even horror games like Koudelka and Shadow Hearts? What about spooky movies? You know, films like The Shining, Misery, The Woman in Black, or Shutter Island? Or are you just kind of like a big old history nerd like I am? What personally caught my attention about this game that I'm going to be talking about is that it takes place in the real world, beginning with the Great Depression, going on into World War II, and then even dealing with the aftermath. I was a history teacher for many years, and I just love stuff like this, and I think that you will too, and I've got the game for you. It's called Mire, and it is today's video sponsor, and it's not something that you typically see on this channel, as it's more of like a darker, slower adventure, but I got an exclusive first look at the early access of the demo, and I am super excited to tell you all about it, and I definitely do think that's worth a sub, as you come and you join my party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub and your like and your hype. It helps me out a ton, and I also just love helping out small indie developers too. So now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right on in to what Mire is all about. Mire is decidedly different. Rather than engaging in combat, you're more engaged in analytical detective work, puzzle solving, and investigating all the mysteries of your past, as well as the paranormal activity that you find over in Brecon House. The early access demo that I got to play lasted roughly 30 minutes, and it gave me a good idea of what the whole story is about and also what to expect in the full game. And if you also want to check it out and wishlist the game for yourself and also play the demo too, please be sure to follow the links below at any time. The game also features some quality of life improvements like an autosave, tutorials that you can turn on or off, and the ability for your character to always dash. The developers of Octopath Traveler should take note because dashing should always be the default, but anyway. The whole concept here is that it's a slow burn adventure game, one where you gather clues, interact with the objects that you find around you, gather tools and solve puzzles, and even make choices with real consequences that will not only impact how the story unfolds, but also which of the 8 endings that you'll get. And while the full game has 2 intertwining stories, one of John and the other of Gwen, a detective who's out there investigating a missing patient and a dead orderly, and her path does tie directly into John's, but the demo didn't cover Gwen's path, only John, so let's go ahead and talk about that. The story starts off in London, England in 1937, and you play as John Rowe. And while the world is deep in the throes of the Great Depression, Europe is still on the brink of war. But you're not too focused on that at this time because you've got girls on your mind. And at the midsummer ball, you fall for a girl named Eve. The connection is immediate, and for some reason you feel like you've known her for your entire life. You share a sort of unspoken connection, and you and her quickly become inseparable. She feels the same way about you, so of course, you go on off to get married, settle on into a nice quiet country life on the edge of town, and you live out with the girl of your dreams, and thus begins our story. It all starts off well enough, and together you have a daughter, Alice. But 2 years later, World War II breaks out in Europe, and you're sent off to fight on the front lines. But as you leave, Eve places a locket with a portrait of her and your daughter with you to remember them by. Years pass, and then 1945 rolls around. The war is over, and you return on back to England, hoping for a joyful homecoming, only to find silence to greet you. Your neighbors tell you that there was a bombing a couple of weeks before, and your wife and daughter left during the Blitz. However, no matter how much time actually passes, and no matter how hard you search, you still can't find them. It's almost as if they've vanished. Though, as the days, months, and years go by, you find yourself seeing them out of the corner of your eye, or catching a faint glimpse of them. Maybe your mind is playing tricks on you. Maybe you're just going crazy. Or maybe, just maybe, it really is them. So you kind of become obsessed with finding them, having a singular focus and purpose of finding your missing wife and daughter. And because of that, you change careers and you become a journalist specializing in strange, otherworldly things and investigating what you can into the world of spirits, poltergeists, and ghosts. For whatever reason, you find this comforting because these tales from beyond the grave kind of give you an odd connection to your wife and daughter as these years slowly tick by. Eventually, 1952 rolls around. 7 long years have passed without any sort of connection with your wife or daughter. And your next assignment from work sends you into a mysterious place called Brecon House, and here is where the real meat of the action takes place. This is kind of like one of those choose your own adventure sort of games, where there's 8 different endings and your choices actually matter, and there are real consequences for your actions. especially as Breckenhouse House kind of has like a mind of its own, and a way of keeping tabs on you, watching you, following you, and also knowing if you've disturbed anything that you shouldn't have. The entire atmosphere is really haunting. It is a slow burn and build, but it draws you into its universe. And the voice acting really helps everything along, as everything is voiced, from the creepy telephone calls, to the newscast, to Winston Churchill's speeches, or even the ghostly apparitions that you'll encounter, and every single minor NPC that you talk to. All of them have great, fantastic voice acting. During your adventure, you'll be asked questions and given choices, like for example, do you believe in ghosts? You'll have to answer that you're open-minded about them, or that you just think it's all a bunch of poppycock. Personally, I went with my gut, and I made my own choices. So I said that I'm open-minded about it because, actually, real talk, I am fascinated by ghosts, extraterrestrial, and supernatural phenomenon. I'm one of those guys who, watches Ancient Aliens, for God's sakes. So Breckenhouse House is kind of like a checkered history, and some people who've stayed there ended up in, the insane asylum, while others have vanished without a trace. I love the mood and the atmosphere that's trying to set up here, even the slow, deliberate pace of the walking. At first I was like, man, John, move that slow ass. But the more that I played, the more that I understood what the developers were getting at. They're building up an atmosphere, building up suspense, that tension, and really drawing you into their world. This here is definitely a story that you need to pay attention to. You need to figure out the clues that it gives you, and you're going to need to take notes, because you don't want to get lost and forget what you found. But in order to keep your bearings while you're in the manor, you're given a map of the estate, a hand-drawn map, along with some handwritten notes, and there's a mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen too. The map is really cool, and it really reminds me of something like Kodelka. You might see a photograph of the family that seems innocuous at first, only to find upon further investigation that it contains a code for a safe, as well as some sort of demonic magical entity. You never know what you're going to stumble across here. But if you do disturb too much, again, the house has a mind of its own, and it will notice, and I don't think that Breckenhouse House likes it when we mess with what you shouldn't mess with. Hollowmire is creepy, totally creepy, and after 30 minutes my time with the demo ended, but I can safely say that I was left wanting more. I wanted to delve deeper into the secrets of Breckenhouse House. I wanted to see how John and Gwen's story would intertwine. I wanted to know what happened to his wife and his daughter. And with 8 different endings that all depend on your own individual choices, you can really shape the outcome here. So if you are as intrigued as I am, please be sure to use the links below in order to wishlist the game and even play the demo for yourself. And now, let me know in the comments what you feel about Hollowmire, because I can't wait to hear from y'all. And if this video helped you out, please be sure to leave a like, a hype, and a sub. And as always, have a good